Welcome to another episode of the Trailblazers Experience podcast, the podcast where we have candid conversations with women sharing their career journeys. Today's guest, and I know I say this every week, is a real trailblazer. Recently named Forbes 30 Under 30. She founded a monthly lingerie subscription business called Unndr. Welcome, Sofia, to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Antola. Honestly, thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to
Such a
getting in.
pleasure. I mean, I met you last year at one of Nathan's events. So big up
Mm-hmm.
Nathan.
Over at dinner.
And you are such an inspiration. I mean, one of the headlines is going to be clickbait is scaled a business to £1 million. And we need to understand, how does that happen? What was the startup capital? Was it
Oh.
10 quid? Was it 1,000 quid? Was it? Let's just get into the nitty gritty of everything. Let's start from the beginning. Tell me a bit about yourself, especially for the audience, and what led you then to become a founder.
Yeah. So I started 3 years ago, or just over 3 years ago. I was a newly qualified lawyer. I was working in the city. And I was just so excited to get my teeth into this corporate world. I had aspired to want to help people. That was why I went into law. And I soon, very quickly realized that when I was at that desk, that was not the reality of what I mentally thought I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I think it quickly shone a light to me that that was not what I wanted to do forever. And I honed in on what my purpose was as I was working this job that I really disliked. And it was really that getting down to the core of what I wanted to do, which was to help people. And I didn't feel like I was doing that from behind a desk. And so I remember when I would be at work, I'd be on my phone on the slide just because I didn't like what I was doing. So I was doing everything and anything to get away from what I was doing to find out what I really wanted to do. And it was when I was on socials and I kind of was just founder life was becoming this thing on socials, but I didn't really know much of it. Plus, I'd never really seen someone like myself on social media as a founder. Like, it was very much for me and my background. You go into a world of, corporate, or you be a doctor, or you do something that has a little bit more stability to it. And so being an entrepreneur was something that was never in my trajectory. It was never even something that I had even come across. And I saw this sort of, I saw social media and I saw what it could do and how it could propel certain people. And I kept that at the back of my mind during this job that I really didn't like. And I had casted my mind back to lockdown so lockdown was only a couple of months before I went into my job. It's because I was still at uni when it was lockdown. So I went into this job and I remember thinking back to sort of some of the things I used to do when it was lockdown. I was very much in tune with self-care. I was very much doing things for myself. I was finding my feet as a woman, I think. And it was like that time where I was transitioning between university and becoming a lawyer that I really found myself. And one thing that I found during lockdown was lingerie. And it was something that I found for myself. And we were all inside, we weren't seeing anybody. And when I bought this lingerie, it was purely for myself. And I think that was such a powerful, and at the time felt so insignificant. But now when you look back in the grand scheme of things, what a powerful small move that was. And I remember how amazing I felt in my own body. So then fast forward now to this job and I'm there and I don't like it. And I'm like, what can I do to get myself out of this corporate world, but still be able to fuel my passion of wanting to help people? 2 and 2 sort of started making 4 in my head. And I was like, oh, remember that time when you put on lingerie and you felt amazing and you were wearing lingerie for yourself? And I remember, because I was so heavily on social media at the time, I remember thinking, oh, I see so many lingerie brands and no one ever is portraying lingerie for yourself. And it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually onto something. I think this could be an amazing idea where we can utilize the use of lingerie for women and have it as a means of empowering yourself and a means of elevating your self-care. And that's sort of how the concept came about at the very beginning.
I mean, that's amazing. What a clear moment of clarity. And you're so right, isn't it? The lingerie industry is geared towards hypersexualization for other people, not actually I'm wearing it for. If we talk about Valentine's Day as a commercialized entity in itself, it's buy the red underwear for that person when actually it should be all about you. You should dress well for yourself. You should take care of you for yourself. An interesting moment of clarity, because we have a lot of people who are studying and are finishing degrees, finishing apprenticeships, and still don't know what it is that they want to do. And actually, what you're saying is it's okay to go through that path, that journey. And then afterwards, if you want to pivot and do something, instead of waiting until it's too late and you're living a life of woulda, coulda, shoulda, actually
Yeah.
pivoting and saying, let me take a leap. You come up with that idea post-lockdown, post-uni, you're like, law ain't for me. I know the fundamentals of law, which is great. I'm sure it helps you in your business. Talk to me about how the business then started. So the clarity is there. I want to start this brand to empower women.
Yeah. So it essentially started then with my phone. I had no other means of getting this idea out there. I didn't have any money. Well, I had a little bit of money, but I didn't have the voice that I needed in the real world to be able to say to an investor, like, hey, I've got this idea, or I just didn't know where to start. So my phone was the starting point, and that phone really did take me to where I am now. And it's such a powerful tool. And I always talk about this on social media. Like, you just need to have something you're passionate about, an idea that you're passionate about, and a story to tell. And that was essentially what I did on my phone. So I started the Instagram page. I had a name, I had a concept. I didn't even have any stock. I literally was like, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? Like, it was just otherwise it would have been a waiting game. It would have been like, I've got to wait for this to come. I've got to wait for this to be perfect. And sometimes you just need to put that to the side and you need to say, I just need to start. Like, whatever it is, I just need to do it and I'll learn as I go along. So I made the Instagram page, and initially I was using it as sort of like a Pinterest. So it was a mood board kind of space where I was posting like inspirational quotes. I was sort of hinting at this idea of this subscription. I was almost doing customer research without having a product, and kind of just speaking the idea into existence. And then I started getting a little bit of traction at the beginning. I started getting people following them, and I'm just gonna tell everybody my story. So I did that. I did that on TikTok, and then the wheels really started to get into motion. I was just being completely honest about who I was. So I told everybody I was a lawyer. I told everybody I don't have any business experience. I told everybody, this is my idea. I hope you like it. I really want to build a community of women that are all about empowering themselves and wanting to wear lingerie for themselves and being able to integrate it into their self-care through a subscription service. And then the wheels just never stopped. It kept going, it kept growing, and people just wanted to listen to what I wanted to say. And it was just an amazing start. And for something to have just been birthed from a mobile phone, I think it's absolutely insane.
It's so interesting about you saying, I just started the page and said, let me just see if people are
Yeah.
actually genuinely interested in what I have to say. Because I think that's actually the best way of doing it, sort of reverse engineering, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to order the stock first and then see if I have someone to sell it to. You were like, nope, let's go the other way around and see if there is an interest. Are people actually also in that same vibe of lingerie and my quotes? Do they resonate with an audience? You're growing the social media. When did you know that you had something in? Because obviously you're with your phone, you're doing
Yeah.
this in your bedroom, in your house. And we try to tell people not to get so much into social media because you can get into a world that is sort of a bubble. But when did you know, actually, this is not a bubble? This is something I have here. There's genuine interest. When was that aha moment that there is something here?
I think for me, it was really when I started to get those first couple of viral videos. It kind of just sold it to me that I'm on something here. Yes, it might be a viral video, but I also did not think it was down to luck either.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
your growth obviously exploded due to the viral social media
Yes.
content. Now, we know viral content can just be people jumping on a trend and one-hit wonder type of vibes. But when did you know that actually this viral content is a key determinator for your business then growing?
I think for me, it was when we really started getting those views with the comments. I think the comment sections my content anyway, was so important and pivotal to how I then took the idea from being merely an idea to let's get the stock, let's actually make a business. And it was when I started reading the comments and it was like, oh, I would so get this. Oh, I'd send this to my boyfriend. I really want him to get me the subscription. And I was like, people want it. Like, people actually want it. This isn't just a viral video where people like it and they're dropping memes underneath and they're just trolling the video. Like, no, people actually like it. People think it's an amazing and an incredible concept. So I ran with it and I was like, right, there we go. Everyone likes it. Everyone in the world loves it. Now I need to go and buy some stuff. And it's so
Okay.
funny.
No design background, no
No,
retail background.
none at all.
I'm gonna buy some stock. How? Why? Where? What do you know? What did you do?
I mean, at that time, I was like, right, Google's my friend. Google is my best friend. I'm going to utilize what I can with the internet. I literally typed in lingerie manufacturers. And again, I was back on that phone. I was sending emails. I was like, hey, and I sold, I went in with selling these companies the dream. I was like, hey, I'm this new startup and I've got this vision and I've got X amount of people that are interested. I'm really looking to kind of test it with a small sample size. And you kind of have to get people to become interested in you and ultimately sell someone a little bit of the dream to get yourself where you also need to be as well. And that's what I did at the beginning. I hustled hard because I knew that I wanted people to listen to me and I knew they wouldn't take me seriously if I was asking for, 10 samples, especially when you're dealing with lingerie. I mean, the intricacy and the way you manufacture lingerie is not the same as normal apparel in the sense that it takes certain seamstresses to be able to construct bras and underwears. They're a little bit more complex. And so the MOQs are a lot higher than it is for a jumper or a t-shirt. And so it was really difficult at the beginning to be able to get people to listen and understand the idea, especially when I did not have the capital to be forking out 5,000 MOQs on lingerie. So it was about creating that relationship and being able to very quickly learn to put a business cap on, even though I had no idea on, before that, I was an employee. I was taking I was taking orders from somebody else. But when I was in this position, it was like nobody was giving me guidance. I almost had to find that within myself to be able to give myself orders, to be able to give myself the ability to do what I'm doing now.
That's so interesting. I love the fact that you post your journey and your story and you continue to remind people of where you started. And there's a video, a post of you on socials of when you had all those orders in your house that you were picking and packing
Oh,
yourself.
time.
Talk to me about that moment, because it's coming then full circle, isn't it? Where you
Mhm.
realize, oh my goodness, I'm not just someone who's designing lingerie and sending it to a few customers. When that happened, where all those orders are coming through, you're like, okay, this is great. I now actually have a business here. What was your first reaction?
I mean, my first reaction was like, this is great. Like, this is incredible. Like, I was literally screaming the house down. Like, everybody was getting excited. I had my sister, my mum, my dad, like, the whole house was packing. Like, we had a system in place. Like, it was like we had fulfillment in this house. We could have been a 3PL. It was that organized. But obviously, of course, with like all the influx of orders and all the excitement, does a lot of chaos. Like, there was a lot of things that landed on my plate very, very quickly. It was like overnight, we were only doing like 10 orders a day, or maybe even less than that, to sometimes 200 orders in a day. Like, it really got out of hand. And it was difficult because where I was so obsessed that everybody else was obsessed, and I was really building this incredible brand and, still am doing that. At the time, I think I'd only been about 6 months into running a business.
That's
No one,
phenomenal, though, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
the achievement itself is incredible. But when you think about, logistically, like needing to be able to make sure that, customer service emails are getting replied to, size inquiries, returns, exchanges, like there's so many other little things that when you're in the middle of getting happy about sending out all these orders, you've also got to be able to make time for the customer care as well, and the aftermath and all the other stuff that goes around an order that isn't just here you go, here's your lingerie. Like there's other things that happen afterwards that you also need to be ready and equipped for. And I think when you do get an influx of so many orders, you are also going to have that other sort of side of the coin that is you've got to deal with the aftermath. And sometimes I think for me, I was up day and night packing orders and making sure everybody was getting what they wanted. And then afterwards it was like, well, where's the energy to then be able to, help them with everybody else? And I think everything was tumbling on top of me because it was a lot for one person and a few family members to be able to deal with.
So it accelerated really quickly in 6 months. You've talked about quite a few challenges there. Which was the first one that you said, okay, I need to solve right now? Did you immediately say I have to outsource? That's a lot of hats to be wearing. And I think putting your mom maybe as customer service, she'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What was the first challenge? You were like, okay, I have to mitigate this first.
For me, it was that customer service. Like I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just a business that was, merely just sending out product and then just didn't care about my customer. That just didn't sit right with me. It was never something that I just didn't want to be a brand that was known for being like that. So customer care was definitely at the forefront. And it was something that I wanted, a woman who also felt the same way as me to like feel like that and feel a type of way towards the customer. Like I didn't want to get somebody that just didn't care and saw it as just a 9 to 5 where I'd pay them and they'd sort it out. Like that for me just didn't sit right. So I was on the hunt to find somebody, and an amazing person at that, to be able to deal with customer care. So that was the first bit of outsourcing I did. But that did happen probably a year later. So we started getting sort of the rush 6 months in. So I think I dealt with it for about 6 months. But I also wanted to be able to spend my time learning how to grow the business and do other things that I felt like my time was needed to be in. But then I also wanted to make sure that the customer care was being governed. And that was the first hire that I made.
Also, customer feedback is pivotal, because I'm sure that was even shaping future designs, packaging, or any of those hiccups that come across the way. And interestingly enough, statistics do say when you respond to a customer query, or, if they're disgruntled, if it's genuine, they actually do appreciate it. They really do. Especially if it's coming from you, the founder, and you're in the DMs, in the comments, and responding. It's really, really powerful versus having an automated response saying your query is being dealt with right now. It's like, no, it's not. You've just put me on to something else. Community is very important for you. You've got your Unndr girlies. I don't know if you've given them a name.
We're called the group chat is called Under the Seams.
Right. I love that. Under the Seams. Yeah.
A little nice little term.
Yes.
And we've really community first. That's something I did from the jump.
How do you stay connected to your community, and what feedback has moved you the most? Obviously, when there are issues, that moves you the biggest, because that has to do with cash money.
Cash money, 100%.
Yeah, but what feedback in the last 3 years has been, really, really been something where you thought, wow, this is serious stuff here?
Yeah. I think for me, we've had some incredible DMs and emails over the last 3 years. And as much as I have customer care that deals with emails, I'm still logged into everything. I'm still logged into my Instagram. I deal with that. I always see a DM that comes in. I'm made very aware of emails that come in, good and bad. I like to know it all. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to sort of just like have my head in the sand. Like I want to know what's going on. And I think it was a DM that I got a few months ago, and it was a girl who had just got the all clear from cancer, and she had sent me a DM saying that whilst I was in the hospital, I'd been, watching all your content. I love your lingerie. And I said to myself that when I got the all clear, that I really wanted to make a purchase from you. And that really, it just hit me. It just really hit me in a different place. I just was so touched that somebody had felt that type of way towards my business, and that something that I was selling was so needed and so necessary for women. And it was when I get So that was probably the best DM I'd ever received. And I knew, and and that just is a constant reminder for me that even when times get tough and things are hard, or even when things are really good, it's always great to stay humble and remember, why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. So I think in terms of that, the community just they really do, pull through. And it's funny, when I have a down day, I almost sometimes get that DM where it's like, hey, I just got your order and I loved it. And it was like, I see it as signs. I feel like in a way I'm always connected to the community, even when I don't realize it. Like I always get a little sign and I'm like, yeah, cool. I need to keep going. This is great.
I think it comes back to what you were saying about self-care and being sexy for yourself, dressing up for yourself. The fact is, when people are in hospital, my sister's a doctor and she said you can always tell the ones who, when they've been given a room, who dress it up or don't, or bring their favorite piece of a gown, or you can tell the different personality types that are there in hospital wards itself. I remember when I did Hyrox last year, there was a woman who I'll never forget. I think she'd had her mastectomy, so she ran topless. And it was such a moment. She's there, she's a survivor, and she's doing Hyrox and she's topless. She did the whole thing topless. I was like, wow, this is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not about the
that's what
other
it's all
people,
about.
but those moments as well.
Mm.
So this year, you've been named Forbes 30 Under 30, which is a huge milestone. You started a business from zero to £1 million. That is in 3 years. That is, people are still with no investment in terms of outsiders and things like that, just you and your co-founder.
Yeah.
This is a big milestone. What did this moment mean to you from a personal and professional perspective?
From a personal level, I was thinking to myself, I remember the first thing I thought when I got the email, because you don't know that you're gonna get it. You kind of just wake up in the morning and you either get an email or you get someone that's beating you to the email that's like, I've seen you on the list. But for me, I got the email. I remember I was like, I opened it with one eye. My first thought was that I cannot believe a girl from Ilford in East London has gotten herself onto the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Like, for some reason, that was the first thought that came into my head. And I just remembered thinking that I think from a personal level, to have come so far from where I live, where we're definitely up and coming now, but I think it's a huge milestone for myself to be able to have seen the area and where I come from and to want more, and to then have been able to have expressed myself to Forbes and them actually take me in and think, you know what, she is someone to look out for and someone to watch for in the next couple of years. And from a personal point of view, I felt like I'd made such an achievement in terms of where I've come from and where I am. And I think on a personal level, incredible. From a professional level, again, it's definitely opened up doors in terms of the way people perceive me. I think I very much bang on online about being a bedroom business, and where that is definitely my roots and where I have birthed this business, and it's definitely always going to be true to who this business is. It just goes to show that you can build something incredible with no investment, nothing fancy going on around you, just having an incredible story and an amazing way of storytelling, and also people really valuing what you do and your product. And I think that spoke tremendously in terms of Forbes. Even, when they were reading the application, they obviously really, liked that idea. And yeah, I think on both personal and professional level, it's been a really amazing achievement to have under my belt.
I think also representation, a woman of Asian descent, it's
Yes.
really important to see that representation there as well, because as we know, it's always a certain profile that is portrayed to have only have started businesses and grown it. So you are inspiring lots of women as well. Let's talk about balancing visibility and vulnerability. Last week, I did a session for a few women talking about how visibility is key. Personal brand, professional brand, product brand, you need to make sure you are visible on all the mediums.
Yes.
How do you balance that? Because obviously you're being authentic. Storytelling is key. You've got a great product, a great business model, but how do you balance that with being vulnerable, especially as a young woman in business?
I think that's an incredible question. I think online, I am very open to expressing my wins as much as my struggles. And I think that is really important for women on the internet to know that it is okay to struggle. It is normal to not feel okay 100% of the time. And I think it's, it's really interesting when you're on for anybody listening or even yourself, if you ever stumble on business talk or whatever they call it online, it can be very dominated by men. And the way men view and sometimes express themselves in business is very different to how, us women also do business and how we express ourselves. And I think there's definitely a certain kind of sugarcoating from men in terms of when they speak on business, and they don't, always, from a woman's point of view, I think it's really important to be able to express it from who we are and how we deal with things, and how it's not always rainbows and sunshines, and it's okay to struggle. And I think it's that narrative of things being okay. And that's why I like to bring online, because I think visibility can feel like pressure to always have it together, but vulnerability, that's what actually builds trust. And I think showing the tough days doesn't necessarily make you weaker. It just makes you more relatable. And that's powerful in business.
Yeah, I love what you said about that. And that's why I think we are both in awe of Emma Grede, isn't it? With
Yes.
her, the way she's just very open, very honest, very direct about, how there are jobs that she didn't want to do, but she had to do them because that was where she was at that moment. And, take the call, take the job, take the opportunity. It may not be the one that you want right now, but she's just been really open about that as well. And to your point of, at least we're seeing different narratives, especially a female perspective of what it feels like to run a business, what it feels like to be vulnerable, and it's authentic in itself to inspire others too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about startup realities. Now, you've talked about a few challenges
That's the view.
that you've had. Three years in, going on 4. What's one misconception that people have about building a brand from scratch? So one that you think, man, hindsight is an interesting thing. If I was to do something differently, one up, what would it be?
I think a misconception that people have is that it's glamorous. I think the internet loves to romanticize being an entrepreneur. And I think it is only romantic, probably only 10% of the time. I think realistically, 90% of the time is very unglamorous graft. That's what I call it. It's unglamorous graft. It's a load of spreadsheets. It's customer complaints. It's late nights. Like, that's what it really is. Like, that is the graft of business. And I think, again, online, it's very easy to get misconstrued and see it for the 10% of the highlights that people show. And that business is every single day putting out fires. It's problem after problem. It's you get a massive win followed by an equally as massive low. And I always see business as an equilibrium, and I always view it as scales. And I always see it as if if your wins are going to be this big, I feel like your lows will equally match that win as well. And that's how you view it. And I think for me, that is how I stay kind of sane as well, how I view it. Because if you let the lows always kick you down, I don't think you'll ever get anywhere in business, because it is just part of it. And I think that is definitely a misconception that people have.
Yeah, and also this thing of staying grounded. It keeps you grounded, isn't it? You've not suddenly gone on, now that you've achieved this revenue, suddenly have a staff of 30 and big.
Yeah, no way.
You are as lean. Audience, she's a lean, mean machine in terms of keeping costs low, keeping it ground. You're still operating like that person who was still shipping from your bedroom. And I think that's keeping you grounded and focused and will help you grow the business sustainably is really key as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your approach to leadership? So you've done, a few podcasts, a few talks, representing your community, representing women in business. What is your approach to leadership? You may have a small team, but still, even working with third-party suppliers or agencies or your manufacturers, that is still requires, some leadership skills there. What do you think are the key strengths you've developed over these 3 years that you think, you know what, these are the big hitters that are helping me as a leader?
Yeah, I definitely focus on building a team that feels personally invested on the mission. I think that is so key. Over the years, I've definitely come across people that have thought they have been equipped and they thought we were meeting minds. But when it really comes down to that graft and that grit and actually wanting to be on the journey and on the mission to pursuing something so much bigger than anybody could ever imagine, it takes a certain level of compromise and, wanting to be the best and do the best. And I think that is so important in a team. And I think I, as a leader, have to be that person first and foremost, because I feel like people can't follow somebody that is not what they are preaching. So I definitely, show up. I am that leader. I am that person. I am that woman that's going to go out every day and, get what she wants. And I think that is also really inspiring for a team. And then when you have got that team that can equally give it back to you as well, and they are, coming to you with that same level of grit and that same level of enthusiasm that you give your own work, and when you see it back from a team member, you know that they're on for that journey, and you'll know that they're on for a good ride of wanting to take help you take your company from X to X. So I think that's definitely a very important trait for a team to have. But I also want everybody to feel like they're building with me and not for me. And I think that is a really important culture to be able to bring to the team, and to really hone in that we are building this for the people. We are building this for everybody. I never make it selfish. It's never from a place of, I want to win because I want to do it for myself. Like, I think that is where your downfall in your team will be. And I think you need to be very clear on why you've started your business and who you're doing it for. And I think sometimes online, you can kind of see sometimes some founders, you can kind of tell the way they express themselves. Sometimes it feels like it's coming from a selfish place. Like, I can always tell when a founder's really doing it for the people.
Mm.
And that for me is, as a founder that I want to be. I want to definitely be that kind of founder that's doing it for the people. And I think it's really important that your team is also in that same mindset, and they're all in line of how you lead and how, and ultimately then that will display how they will work as well. And I also think the third thing that I've learned in the last 3 years is that listening is so important. Like, I listen more than I speak. Definitely, I listen more than I speak. And I also think that me, being in business for the last 3 years, I don't know it all. I might think I do, but I don't know it all. And I think I really value having team members to be able to shine their light on a situation, shine their light on a problem, shine their light on an idea. And I know that, my word is not always Bible. So I love to be able to listen and to be able to take on board and come to a harmonious decision on certain things. Of course, sometimes as a leader, you do need to, sometimes if you feel strongly about something, definitely go with your gut. But I also very much value my team and their ideas. And I think that is what creates a harmonious team, not always being a tyrant, as to speak. So sometimes, listen and actually take on board what others have to say and what others think, because they are also on that journey with you too. They're learning every single day. So I think it's really important to be able to be at one with your team.
I think that last part about active listening and
Mm-hmm.
picking a team who understands the mission, the vision, who want to be on that journey with you. Because if they're not on that journey, it's just a recipe for disaster, isn't it? You always think, oh, I should take on this person because they exhibit this talent or skill set. But if everything else doesn't fit, the emotional intelligence is there, them taking things personally, them thinking it's all about them, it's just a disaster. Even if that business acumen side is 100%, it's the other
Yeah.
end of the coin, isn't it, that you need to also be with you on that journey too.
Yeah.
How do you stay creatively inspired? So you've recently, gone on the TikTok journey, and really intensely as well.
Yeah.
You've pivoted, you've been agile and said,
I
right,
have.
let's do this. How do you stay inspired? So even just going on TikTok or new
Uh,
designs, thinking of launching new product lines with the loungewear, where
yeah.
does that come from?
For me, it comes from my extracurricular activity that I do around my business. I need that breathing space. I need at least, an hour in my day to be able to do what I want to do to better my own being, to be able
And
to
for the audience, what is this extracurricular activity? They're like, what is she
You're
doing?
like, what is she doing? So some sort of movement. So, every single day I'm either at the gym. Recently, I've been playing a lot of tennis. That is another one I like to do. Some form of movement, running. I love just doing something. And I'm never one to do the same thing every single day as well. I don't know if that's a bad habit, if that's a bad trait to have, but I love to mix it up. Like I'm sometimes a week in the gym, then next week I'm a week in the tennis court. The week after that, I'm running in the park. I never like to do one thing. And I think that also helps my creativity because I'm never doing the same thing. Like my routine is forever changing. I do have somewhat of a structured routine, but the contents of that routine is always changing. I think that is what help keeps my brain and my ideas fresh. Because when I then come down to sit down, sometimes I'm like, oh, I had this thought when I was slamming the ball at this time at this point. And sometimes my mind it's always on what I'm doing, but I'm always thinking about the business in the background. I never fully switch off. But what is nice is that when I'm in these settings where I'm not at the desk and I'm not at a laptop, but I'm doing something else whilst thinking of my business, it often does get those creative juices flowing. And I start to think about things that when I then come to the desk, I don't know, my thought process is a lot clearer.
Yeah.
So I think taking time to be able to do something for yourself, whatever that might be, that is not necessarily just at your laptop, because I think we as founders and entrepreneurs fall into a very slippery slope of being on the laptop 24/7. And I think it's okay to take some time to go and do what you need to do to fill your cup. And that is then ultimately what then leads to a bit more creativity on my side and to be able to come up with these amazing launch product ideas and all the rest of it.
Well, someone had said the most important years of your entrepreneurial journey are the first few years of building that business. That'll be the most exciting, because when you're a 10 million, 20 million, 40 million business, you're going to have a team. They're going to be people doing, teams for design, etc. It's all established, and you still need to remember who you are. Coming back full circle to that whole self-care element is so important, with health being more important than anything of financial value. The fact that you've said, right, I'm going to invest in that and use that time is so key. And like you said, entrepreneurship it's a lonely journey, isn't it? People think, well, you've got your network, you've got people you talk to, but ultimately it is you with your ideas, thinking about what to do next, thinking about what to solve. Even if you're working with a co-founder, advisors, it's still you're speaking to them once a week or once a month.
Yeah.
It's still a very lonely journey. So the fact that you're into sports, which is
Yeah.
really important, and girl, changing up is not a bad thing. It's a good thing,
alright.
actually. Too.
Good.
Now, we had a chat the other day because P. Louise has made history with her epic
Live stream.
TikTok live stream. She's sold out of her Christmas Advents calendars and things like that. And her story is really brilliant, how she started. And when you read, whether it's LinkedIn or etc., people have a love-hate relationship with TikTok. It's always to TikTok or not to TikTok. That is the question. How have you found your TikTok journey?
My TikTok journey has been insightful. I have thoroughly enjoyed being on TikTok. So for anybody who doesn't know, I have recently come back onto TikTok and I set myself a little challenge, and I was going live every single day as the founder for 30 days, but I ended up doing it for 60 days instead because I couldn't help myself.
You enjoyed it so much.
I just enjoyed it so much. I was on for 2 months straight. My whole calendar was cancelled out. Anybody who wanted to see me on the weekends was not seeing me. I was dedicated to the cause, and I learnt so much in 2 months. I learnt so much about not only my current customer, but potential customers, new customers. I learned so much about sizing. I learned so much about what colors people gravitated towards. I was on those live streams for anywhere between 3 to 6 hours every single day. And I was
amazing.
Thank you. It was hard. It was really, and it got really mentally challenging. It was a mental game at one point because it was so easy to have just said, you know what, I just want to take a day off today. I just I don't want to do it. But I needed to prove myself right. Like, I wanted to show up. I really wanted to do it for my brand. I wanted to do it for my customer. I wanted to do it for my team. I just wanted to do it for everybody around me. So I went on every single day and I learned so much. We also did a good amount of sales as well, which was nice because, again, the people over at TikTok were liking the brand. They were loving the designs. They were loving who we are. They loved that I could talk to them as a founder and really build up that rapport with the customer. And I was able to help them with sizing then and there. They didn't have to wait a couple of hours for an email. They got the response then and there. Anything they wanted to know, they would get it in less than a second. And I think that is such a powerful tool that people need to understand TikTok can unlock for you. And it is a selling channel that I think if you are not on, it is definitely something for you to consider. And I know people think it is Marmite, essentially. You either like it or you don't. But I think it is really dependent with how you show up on the platform. Is very much in your control. You know, if you want to come on and be a little bit more luxury, I've seen so many brands that have come on recently. Who have I seen? I've seen Shark, you know, the Hoover company.
Yeah,
Like, they sell like £200-300 Hoovers, but they're on TikTok and they've got a really nice professional setup. They've got a nice camera. No one's shouting at the screen. It's very calm, very collected. They've got, you know, a nice, healthy 300-400 people on the live stream and they're buying. So I think it really depends with how you show up and how you want your brand to come across on TikTok, you know, and it's the power is in your hands. And I think you stopping yourself because of what other people think of the platform is not a good enough excuse not to use it. And I think that if you can mentally push past that feeling, if you get on TikTok, you can learn so much about your business, and it can also be a very, very nice viable stream of income as well to be able to make some good money from there too.
Yeah, I've not heard anyone say that TikTok has been negative because a lot of brands, unfortunately, even founders have a negative experience with the shadow banning that's happening on other platforms. We won't name names, but and they're seeing that they're not getting follows, likes, comments. They've all just suddenly disappeared. And yet on TikTok, it is what it is. It, you know, rewards you. Yes, there is the algorithm, but the fact that you can have those conversations and someone can say, well, what about sizing? What about this? What about, and I think ultimately reduces returns rates because it takes away the uncertainty. You're appreciative that the founders had this conversation with you and answered the key questions. And then you sort of think, okay, right, I can make that purchase as well. So well done for your
Thank you.
day stint.
Thank you. It was fun. I'll be back.
Yeah, as well. Let's talk about marketing.
Yes.
And you did something really exciting, which when you told me about it, I was like, yes, this is the kind of creative juices that are flowing. I'm sure whether it was you were doing a bench press or, you know, playing tennis when this came up, is given the opportunity to participate in a Drake Party Next Door video, which is tapping into a new audience and, you know, got to have some free product
100%.
placement as well. How did that come about?
Also, may I add, when I told you the first time, you were actually about to scream. That was your reaction. You were going to scream. You were like,
I know. I was not free. I should have been in the video as well.
You should have been in it too. Well, next time, I'm sure we'll get another opportunity to see one. And I've got your number, so I'll definitely be giving you a call. But no, it was it was such a surreal moment. It was, again, like not one that I thought was going to be on my bucket list for 2025. I mean, I didn't wake up on January 1st and thought, okay, this year you and your brand are going to be featured in a Drake video. Like, that just was never, it was never on the cards. Like, it just was never a thought. But the opportunity came forward to my co-founder, who is also a director, a commercial music video director in his other life. Taran. Shout out Taran in his other life. That is what he does. And he thought naturally that a really amazing, nice concept for the video was to hone it in on self-love and women and what incredible powerhouses that we are. And the video highlighted a woman's fragrance shoot. That was the actual concept, and it was for a OVO perfume. And I was the kind of what I do now, but so I was like a CEO of a fragrance company, and I was sort of on set, and I had all my girls with me, and it was just a female only set in the video, and the mother of pearl set featured in the video as well, which was nice, and the model looked great, and we all looked great, and we had a great time, and it was just a really nice talking point thereafter on socials. It was a great sort of tick on the sort of credibility box for just us as a brand, and I think it really hit a different kind of girl and a different kind of audience as well. And I think that opportunity was just an incredible one. I mean, one of the biggest artists in the world. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity, and for me to be in it as well was super fun.
Well, there you go. I mean, you've got like content there for, I hope you've created some assets for
100%. I'm gonna keep
repurposing.
going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna stop. I need to keep talking about it.
I think that's it. And it comes back to whether you're an established brand or
Yeah.
you've just started, rethinking about how do you tap into your audience? How do you showcase your brand? How do you showcase your product? What platforms are there? All these things that you've talked about, all digital. You haven't done any pop-ups, you don't have any
Nothing.
bricks and mortar, you're not in concessions. This is
Mm.
all D2C, using digital to the best of its ability to drive what needs to happen. And I think, yes, of course, bricks and mortar are really important
Yeah.
as well. But there is also a space for growing businesses on the other side, which is digital. And I think you've shared lots of little nuggets and tips for people to take on board. Going full circle,
Mhm.
what is one mindset shift that has helped you go from, being an employee working for somebody
Mm.
else to an entrepreneur that's still staying true to you right now as well?
Yeah. It's gotta be that nobody is gonna come and give me permission to do something. And I think that was definitely a mindset shift that helped me transition from being that employee to being an entrepreneur, and understanding that I am accountable for my own decisions. Whether they are good or bad ones, you have to stand by them. You have to take a level of accountability, and just know that no one's going to give me permission for what I want to do. So I've got to go out and stand on 10 toes and make sure that I do it to the best of my ability. And if, it hasn't gone as planned, you hold your hands up and you keep it moving. And I think as an employee, you get into that routine of not doing something or waiting for permission or waiting for your manager to let you know something. And, when you leave all of that behind and you are at this desk and you are in charge of your team, and you've got manufacturers and you've got 3PLs and you've got all these people in this mixture, and you are the sole person in charge, there's a lot of pressure as well. When you wake up every day, you're like, right, I am the person that needs to take me from here to here because I've got people to pay and I've got this and I've got that. Blah, blah, blah. And you just need to know that the decisions you make, you need to just back yourself, and you've got to really just run with the, sorry, you just got to go with the, I can't think of that. The phrase is
Roll with
lost.
the punches.
Roll with the punches, that's the one. You just have to kind of go along with what it is, and just stay true to yourself and you as an entrepreneur, and just know that, I needed to stop basically looking for validation and started backing my own decisions.
I mean, that's brilliant, because I think that's why a lot of people are stuck in a rut. There
Yeah.
must be someone out there right now who's stuck in a job, has
Yeah.
a big idea, and they just don't even know where to go, what to start, because obviously there's a financial element as well, isn't it? When you're working for someone, there's that paycheck that's coming every month, but when you're in business, everything is reliant on you. So it's a big
Mhm.
shift in mindset as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're coming to the end of the podcast, where I always ask our guests to give 3 trailblazer tips,
Mhm.
things that can just help our viewers, our
Yeah.
audience along the way. What would yours be?
Mine would be utilize social media. It is free, so you might as well pick up your phone, take a picture. Even if you're not comfortable with showing yourself, you don't have to. You can honestly just use your phone and post something. It will take you that little step further to where you want to be. Secondly, I say don't care about what other people think. I think that is definitely something that can stop us in our tracks. It can often stop us from chasing our dreams. Make sure that you are in your own lane, listening to your own thoughts, and show up for yourself. Do it for you. That is another thing, the second thing I would say. And lastly, I would say that if you are sitting on a concept, an idea, something that you really want to make a reality, make it a reality, you know, don't just sit on this dream thinking I'll do it one day, because you'll never actually activate on it. You'll never have that day where it's like, right, I'm ready. And I think that is what I've circled back to at the beginning of this podcast, that I mentioned that even when I started my Instagram page, I wasn't ready. I didn't have product. I didn't have anything. I just had an idea and a name. And I think you can, as a person and if you have a great idea, just start. I know that sounds daunting, but it is, you know, it is a daunting step. But as an entrepreneur, you've got to take these little risks. You've got to do things that you don't want to do. And you've often got to do things out of your comfort zone in order to grow. So that is the third point that I would give to anybody listening to the podcast.
Sofia, I am inspired. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your
Thank
story.
you.
I mean, you're only just at the beginning, and I look forward to interviewing you again when there's some more milestones coming up for your business. It's really great to hear really straightforward story. You're not a trust fund baby. You're not a this. It's like
I'm not a trust fund
from
baby.
East London, started her business and grown it to a £1 million business. That is something that we just need we need these stories. They're authentic, they are out there, and I'm sure you have motivated someone to just get going as well.
No, thank you so much for having me. I've had an amazing chat and I hope to be back on here with you in the future. So thank you so much.
Brilliant. Sofia, for those who don't know you, where can they find you on the socials? I'll put them all in the show notes, but just for everybody else.
You can find me on Instagram at Unndr Lingerie. I have also got my own account there, Sofia Panwar, that you can also follow on Instagram, and on TikTok we are Unndr Lingerie as well.
Awesome. And for the audience, well, this has been the Trailblazers Experience podcast. Sofia said it, you don't need permission to start, just conviction. So until next time, you know where to follow us, subscribe. All the episodes are on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So until then, thank you very much.
Thank you.